This is Hemant.
And Jessica.
And you're listening to the Friendly Atheist podcast. If you like what you're listening to, please go to patreon.com/Friendly Atheist podcast. If you're a $5 a month donor, you get ad-free episodes of this show. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yay, happy Thanksgiving, Hemant.
And I'm just going to run through some of the beginning notes just to get this out of the way.
Yeah.
We have a bonus episode for anyone who donates to Patreon at any level, so please consider that.
Well, we should explain what the bonus episode
What
is.
is the bonus episode?
Bonus episode is just Hemant and I kind of bullshitting about our lives and non-atheist or political things.
Which is weird, because who knew there was anything else?
I mean, I've never heard Hemant talk about anything besides on this podcast. It's very exciting.
If you like listening to this podcast on YouTube while you do other things, this will be available on the Friendly Atheist YouTube channel. You could check that out. We want to give a special thanks to an old cross-country coach who was just super generous to us over Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much.
And also, we want to give a shout out to the people on Discord who run the Friendly Atheist Podcast Discord channel. They wanted me to let you know that next week they are going to be doing a little movie marathon between, and they're taking a vote between which one to watch first. God's Not Dead, which you all are familiar with, I'm sure, and Dark Dungeons, which, if you're not familiar with that, it's made by secular people, but it's kind of a spin-off of a infamous chick track that says, like, Dungeons and Dragons is demonic.
Sure, like the old Monsters and Mazes, one of Sir Tom Hanks' early roles. Do you know about Monsters and Mazes?
No idea.
Baby Tom Hanks was in a movie that was a cautionary tale against Dungeons and Dragons.
Nice. So they're going to be watching both of those on Thursday, December 2nd, starting at 6 p.m. Central Time. But they're taking votes right now. And if you go to the show notes, you can vote on which of those two to watch first if you are part of the Discord channel. And again, the benefit to voting and watching it with them is you get to watch with a group of people who are going to react to it the same way you might. And it's kind of fun to discuss it as you watch together.
Yeah, I unfortunately missed the last one, but I have done these kinds of things before, and they are always extremely fun.
So thank you to everyone. How was your Thanksgiving week?
It was, you know what? It was great. I went over to my brother and my sister-in-law's up in Lisle and got to hang out with my 18-month-old niece. And you know what she did? She's in a phase, you're probably familiar with it, when toddlers just hand things to people. And she kept going into her room and bringing out books and just handing them out. And she kept handing me Elle the Humanist, which obviously she doesn't know that, like, that's what I gave her. But it was very cute because she really insisted I have it.
That's adorable.
But yeah.
All right.
I didn't ask.
It doesn't matter. I had no kids like all week. They were being watched by other people. It was just like
trusted people?
Days. I don't know who they were. Just days of like, I don't have to do stuff for other people. What
do you do in those days? Are you like,
nothing.
I'm going to clean and do things?
For like a minute. Watch shitty Lifetime movies with
anything
my
good?
wife. No.
We should
is
definitely
the
watch.
nature.
We should definitely both watch the new Jennifer Lopez, Owen Wilson
that sounds
rom-com. It's
already.
called Marry Me. Jennifer Lopez plays herself and then marries Owen Wilson, who's like a math teacher or something. I don't know. I'm very excited about the return of the high-budget rom-com. I think it's something we've really been missing the last 10 years. Thanks, Marvel.
I saw some horror film that involved a very predictable killer. It was great.
What?
I don't know what I watched.
What was it? I love horror movies. Was it Malignant?
No, it wasn't anything anyone's heard of. But
that's too bad. You know what we can talk about this in the bonus podcast, but I'm reading Dr. Sleep by Stephen King and enjoying the shit out of it. And I would love to talk about it on our bonus episode. Right. That's what we call a teaser, motherfuckers.
Let's start with this pastor, Burnett Robinson. He's the senior pastor at Grand Concourse Seventh-day Adventist Church in the Bronx.
In the Bronx,
the Bronx. And he made headlines this week for surprising reasons. Here's what I think he was trying to do.
Okay.
This is from a sermon at the beginning of November that normally they would post on their YouTube channel and Facebook page and everything, and now you won't find any traces of it.
Because it's so good they didn't want anyone to see it.
They wanted nobody to see it. I think what he was trying to say is when you get married, women, you're supposed to submit to your husbands. And that's the typical conservative Christian, even conservative sect type of thinking. Submit to your husbands. And what does that mean? It varies depending on who you ask. Because if you're like a more progressive pastor, you could say, yeah, it does say wives submit to your husband, but also men are supposed to submit to their wives. You're there for each other. You have different things to do.
Dual submission, the goal of all good marriages.
right?
Two submissives.
I'm going to read you, here's what he said. And the only reason I know this is
Okay.
because it appears that one person took a screen recording of what this guy said before it was scrubbed from the internet entirely, because I have not found the full sermon.
Nice work, citizen
I
detective.
know. Yeah. So this is what he said. Wives, you must submit yourself to your husband as unto the Lord. And in this matter of submission, I want you to know up front, ladies, that once you get married, you are no longer your own. You are your husband's. You understand what I'm saying about you? And I emphasize that because I saw in court the other day on TV where a lady sued her husband for rape. And I would say to you, gentlemen, the best person to rape is your wife.
And they didn't want people to hear that for some reason. So this man...
Let me repeat that.
Is
gentlemen,
encouraging...
the best person to rape is your wife.
Because there are so many choices. We know you have a lot of choices when it comes to rape, so we really appreciate you raping your wife. Thank you.
The best person, as if there is a hierarchy,
There's
first of all.
a hierarchy. I feel like daughter probably isn't far enough down on that list for me.
The way he precedes it with
Jesus.
gentlemen, by which he apparently means rapists.
Yeah.
But no, gentlemen.
They're the same thing in his head. Wow, that's almost impressively horrible. You know, sometimes you just think, I've heard it all.
Yeah.
And then a man says, gentlemen, the best person to rape is your wife.
Unquote. That's word for word.
But Hammond, there must be context surrounding this.
I was trying to figure that out. I was trying to figure out what's the best case interpretation of his words. And I
you got it.
I think it's okay. You're going for the Bible preaches submission. You are one when you are married. And that applies apparently to your physical self as well. And by the way, we've talked about Lori, what's her face, the fundamentalist Christian mommy. But the fundamentalist Christians often preach this same sort of thing. You're supposed to submit to your husbands. And some people, Lori Alexander, takes it a step further. And she's like, that also applies to sex. If your husband wants it and you're not in the mood, she said, ladies, too damn bad. And I think she said something like, what's the problem? It only takes 2 minutes. Completely seriously. And this is the way... Here's the thing. We've spent several years now hearing from Christians and former Christians who said, it's that sort of mentality that then leads to abuse. And abuse can and does happen within a marriage as well. But a lot of these women fear they can't leave their husbands because divorce is taboo in their church, in their religion, in their families. They can't report it to anyone or talk about it because saying no to your husband is not something you're supposed to do either. So they end up getting stuck in these abusive relationships and marriages. And that's the thing. Okay, this guy said something stupid, but even if you give him the benefit that he doesn't deserve, the best case scenario of what he's saying is, women, just do whatever your husband says at all times, because when you're married, you are now one. You are not independent anymore. That is what he was getting at. And again, how many times do you have to hear stories from women who have spoken out against the system, who are still Christian, by the way? And how many times do you have to ignore them for you to say something this stupid?
Well, I want to address two things quickly. The first is that marital rape was not illegal across the country until the fucking 90s. That is something I think we all need to remember, is that this sort of concept of being able to accuse your husband or your domestic partner of rape is relatively new in our law. So, his attitude is not something of his attitude is that of somebody 20 years ago. It's genuinely not, it shouldn't surprise any of us. As shocking as it is to hear a man encourage men to rape their wives, we shouldn't be surprised because that's what these people have been saying for their entire existence. The other thing I want to say is women tend to get this rhetoric thrown at them a lot of this, once you're married, you're submitting to your husband. And especially once you have kids, your life is all about your children. Women, they want women to fade into the background if it benefits their kids anymore. And it's all coming from the same place. And Jesus, we wonder why women, A, don't want to have kids, or B, are unhappy in their marriages.
And in these sorts of conservative Christian homes, usually it's not like these women had independence and they're willingly giving it up for marriage or kids.
Right.
It's that they're getting married at like 19 at best.
Can you imagine?
Maybe younger. And it's like they weren't ever independent to begin with.
No.
They went from father to husband with nothing in between.
And that's what has happened to women up until like the fucking 60s and 70s. That was all women did. You went from your father's house to your husband's house.
A couple things. Religion News Service, the reporters there pointed out the passage that he's citing from Ephesians made headlines in 1998 when the Southern Baptist Convention amended its own statement of faith. This is what we believe.
Whoa.
They amended it in 98 to include a section that said women must, quote, submit herself graciously to her husband's leadership.
Wait, I'm sorry. They added.
They're like,
my
what does it mean
God.
to be a Christian? What does it mean to be a Southern Baptist? They said, you know what? This is changeable. We're going to change it to make sure it says women should submit herself
I'm
graciously.
genuinely very shocked that was an addition. I assume when he said they like something changed that they like made it slightly more progressive, but they
No.
regressed
I
it.
think they implied it always, but
Of
they
course.
codified it in
Yeah,
98.
they were worried that women were too stupid to read between the lines.
And in 2018, we talked about this when it happened. One of the former leaders of the Southern Baptist Convention, Paige Patterson, was criticized rightly because he said that if you're a woman who is abused by your husband, the response should be prayer, not divorce. And a lot of people lashed out against him. Now, he did a lot of shitty things, and he was eventually like pressured out of Southern Baptist leadership. He was later fired from his position as head of a seminary.
Oh.
That was not because of, that's not because he said this. That's because a student came to him with rape allegations, and he's like, psh, whatever. So it's other issues very much tied to
Poor
this.
kid going to the worst human
Yeah.
possible to tell about your rape.
Here's the thing, though. Okay, this guy's a Seventh-day Adventist preacher, and the people we're talking about, Southern Baptist leaders, conservative Christian evangelicals, whatever. Here's what I would like to see from other pastors, because I feel like a lot of Christian leaders would hear this story and just think, whatever, I would never say something like that to my congregation. I don't believe that, which is nice. But here's what I wish more of them would do. I want them to tell their congregations abuse is never acceptable within a marriage, outside of marriage, obviously. Divorce is, yes, it can be an option, and it's not going to be shamed within the church. You got your reasons for it. Consent matters, even in the context of marriage. They should denounce any conservative teaching that tells women to submit to their husbands in any way that's not just merely symbolic of like, you are now one, so you should work together and do something for
Right,
them.
right.
Put them above you. That's not a bad theory, but it has its limits. But I feel like a lot of them are too afraid to say it, just like they're afraid to speak in favor of vaccinations, or they're afraid to call out the MAGA people in their churches, not because they support the conservative take on it,
Right.
but they think, I'm just going to never discuss this.
Right.
It's off limits.
It feels too fraught for them, and they don't want to, like, things are so divisive, and they think these really nice things to say to people are going to be, like, taken poorly, which says a lot for
Two other
the audience.
quick things about this. One, there was a petition on change.org calling for Robinson to resign, which you think they're going to care if your petition gets signatures?
I thought change.org was supposed to be petitions to the government. Now it's just like,
There was-
we're mad about a thing. We want to sign
Yeah.
a thing.
The Obama administration said if you can get X number of signatures on a petition through the government's website, we will make sure we address it somehow, which hit or miss because their answers were never that good. But change.org can be for anything. But here is an update. A couple days after all of this went viral earlier this week, this guy did resign. Not because of the change.org, but the Seventh-day Adventist Church, a spokesperson for that regional part of the country, said Pastor Burnett Robinson has resigned as the senior pastor of the Grand Concourse Seventh-day Adventist Church. And they added that their regional New York conference recognizes many have been deeply harmed by the sentiments expressed by Robinson. The views he expressed are wrong and not accepted by our church. Rape and sexual assault of women are crimes and should always be treated as such. Which, okay, I get that they are condemning what specifically he said, what I wish they would have also said is we condemn the underlying theology that women should submit to their husbands. They won't.
Yeah,
they do believe
they can do that because of their religion.
So I don't know. I don't know what this guy does next. He's been preaching at this church since 2013. So he's not a new dude that just showed up and now he's gone. Like he's going to have another act. I don't know what it's going to be.
I'm sorry. Are you worried about his future prospects, Hemant? Is that
no,
what we're spending our time concerning?
I'm afraid he's going to have future prospects.
Oh, I see.
And I don't know. Is he just going to move to another church? It's like,
well, the Catholics got away with it for years.
I know. Let me jump to Stella Emanuel, who you know her because remember last summer when Donald Trump trotted out the doctors who supported the crazy conspiracies, and he had a group outside like the White House or somewhere in DC, a group of white jacket doctors who were like, yeah, the COVID's fine. You guys don't have to worry about it.
I have no memory of this.
It's all blocked out.
Yeah, I really...
One of the people who basically spread these dangerous COVID conspiracies was a woman named Stella Emanuel, who said at the time face masks were basically useless. She said she used hydroxychloroquine on her patients.
Hydroxychloroquine, I hadn't thought about that in so long.
Yeah. And then it turned out when you investigated her a little further, she also blamed gynecological problems like endometriosis on people dreaming about having sex with demons. She said...
That sentence started bananas and got crazier.
She said alien DNA was used in medical treatments.
Well, obviously.
She said
I've seen the X-Files, it's true.
She said scientists plan to use vaccines to stop people from being religious. She said homosexuality would lead people to hell. And this week, she's still around. Like, that's the thing.
Homosexuality one is boring.
I know,
We've
really,
heard that
at this
one.
point.
This sex demon thing, now we're cooking with gas.
Oh, no, I'll get to that in the next story. She was on one of those right-wing shows that no one watches except for the diehards. And she was literally, the Chiron under her labeled her as Dr. Stella Emanuel, frontline doctor and demon slayer. Like, totally serious.
On what? On Fox?
No, it's worse than Fox.
Okay.
So she was on there.
Funny.
And basically, here's what she said. In short, she was saying, hey, Christians, if you've gotten vaccinated, don't worry. You can pray and you can have the vaccine cast out of your body.
Great. I have no problems with this.
Here's what she said. We're casting this thing out of people. It is Lucifer. So you need to pray. If you've taken this vaccine, pray. Ask God to have mercy on you. Say, Father, I was deceived. I did not know. I was terrified. But basically...
So scared.
So she's saying if you've gotten vaccinated, don't worry about the side effects. You can just ask God and he'll take it. He'll undo it.
You know
to which I agree with you. Please, conservative
go
Christians.
Nuts with that. Also, doesn't that remind you of when people say you can grow your virginity back if you pray hard enough? Isn't that like the same thing?
Yeah.
Which, you know what, I have no problem with. Like, pray, pretend you're a virgin again, and just, great.
Hey, go
have
wild,
sex with
everyone.
I bet if you lose your virginity in your 40s versus in your teens or 20s, it's much better.
So to this case, please, anti-vax Christians, go get vaccinated
and then
pray all
so
you want
hard
to have it cast out of you. In fact, you should do that. You should pray extra hard after the booster. You should pray extra hard after the second shot.
Doesn't this just reek of like, I'm gonna kiss your boo-boo and make it feel better? It's just this weird, like, magical thinking that is so silly and childish.
Yeah. Like how many people have to get vaccinated and be fine after like the initial, oh my God, I'm dying. After that, you're fine.
Yeah.
But like how many people have to do that to the point where everyone else is like, what? This seems bad. Like, I'm pretty sure we would have noticed by now.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I mean, my 6-year-old got her shot. She's fine. She didn't even complain after the shot. I was like waiting for the soreness and the whatever I would have done.
Yeah.
Because I had the soreness followed by, oh God, I can't move.
Yeah.
She didn't have any of that. She's just like cried during the shot, fine afterwards, all good. Second shot in a couple weeks. That's it. She's moved on from it.
I do love seeing the little kids who are braver and smarter than adults.
Right. I will say it was kind of amusing, entertaining to go to it wasn't pediatrics. I think it was pediatric specific where we went to get her shot. So it was just a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
And so, like, yes, they got the shot. And during the 15-minute waiting period, it's like, here's the coloring booth. You could grab this. Here's a toy for you to play with.
I wish I had that when I got my shot. I would have loved a coloring
totally
booth.
decked out. So many kids just not crying after the shot. It was great.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Can I tell a really quick anecdote that I meant to tell about that? What's his name? The pastor from the Bronx? Robinson. Last night at dinner, at some point, my 18-year-old niece, somebody asked her if she liked something or wanted something, and she went, yes! And my sister-in-law goes, ladies and gentlemen, that is enthusiastic consent. And I laughed for an hour.
Nice.
It was very funny. Go ahead.
Well done. So speaking of the Stella Emanuel story,
yes.
I think I had the most viral tweet I've ever tweeted.
Congratulations. I didn't see it.
I won so much Twitter money. No, here's the tweet. I'm just going to read you the caption.
Okay, I'm sorry. This podcast is just us reading our own tweets because I have some bangers.
Here's the tweet. Because I was trying to summarize a video clip from the Jim Baker show, which is always going to be crazy.
Sure.
He had a guest on that I've never seen before. Her name is Sharon Gilbert, and she is basically an end times preacher along with her husband. Mm-hmm. So their focus is on the afterlife and the rapture and things like that. Okay.
Good, important things that we need to think about right now.
Within like a 5-minute span of them just talking on this show, here's what I learned from her. I'm not going to quote her directly because this goes on for a while. She said that an alien imitated her husband one night. And then it tried to have sex with her, but she caught on. And then the alien claimed to be Xerxes. And then she prayed to Jesus and she removed the mask from the alien. And it turned out it was a reptile. And that reptile had a posse of gargoyles.
What?
I would just like to say, that is the condensed version of everything she said that I had to boil down into a tweet. And I'm like, how do I fit all this in? But there's a lot happening, and I'm not misquoting it. I am not taking it out of context. That is her example of this thing happened to me, but I guess you need God to save you from the evil reptile aliens that are going to try to trick you into sleeping with them.
Having sex and probably... How old is she? Is she at risk of impregnation realistically?
On the older end of that scale, sure.
Okay.
By the way, while she's saying all this, her actual husband, that the alien was imitating, supposedly, her actual husband is sitting right next to her. There's a beautiful shot in this video of her saying, he was trying to have sexual relations with me. And it cuts, you get this panel shot and you see her husband just nodding like, yes, it was. And I'm like, what is going on in your head, my dude?
Who are these people again?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
And
no.
And while this is going on, the chyron at the bottom of the screen, which is actually selling the third dude on the panel's wares, the name of his DVD collection, The Great Delusion. So as she's speaking, it says The Great Delusion at the bottom of the screen.
It's not fair. How can I make jokes about people when they make all of them themselves?
I know. It was fantastic.
Oh, that's hysterical.
And in case you are wondering, nobody on that panel asked any follow-up questions.
Oh my God. Okay, so at first I thought maybe she had... Have you heard of the book, The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat?
Yes. I don't know anything about it other than the title.
It's just a series of essays of this man who is a psychologist in like the mid-20th century. I want to say 70s, but I'm not sure. It could be earlier or later. Who knows? Stop saying things you don't know, Jessica. But anyway, it's just about weird like psychological phenomenon that happened that like when the titular story is a man was in a was in a room with a doctor and went to grab his hat and grabbed his wife, like literally thought his wife was a hat for a second. And it's a phenomenal book. It's really problematic in a lot of ways. Like a lot of R slurs are like just being tossed around. But it's really interesting. So that's what I thought at first, that because there's a thing where you recognize a person's face, but it doesn't connect to your emotional center. So it's like I see a person who looks like Hemant, but he doesn't give me any like well, you're not a good example because you don't give a lot of like vibes or emotions anyway. But I thought it was that for a second. And then she actually was able to remove the mask. So now I'm thinking acid trip?
I don't. Dude, the Twitter comments went from she cheated on her husband but doesn't want to explain the truth to does that count as a threesome? Like,
question.
the questions that everyone had that no one on this panel asked were unbelievable.
I
like,
want to know his
I too,
version of the story.
I'll take what she's smoking.
Yeah.
I'll smoke what she's smoking. All of that. And nothing. I have so many
I
follow-ups.
really want to know his side of the story. Like, is he like, yeah, I was in a closet for 2 hours. That explains my notable absence in my wife's bed.
Yeah. So many
Took
people
off
just like,
a
man,
mask.
me too, man, me too.
Took off a mask and she's a lizard.
Took off the mask of a guy purporting to be her husband.
Purporting to be
and
her husband. It was a
reptile.
lizard head, a la Scooby-Doo. And then Gargoyles, which is another old-timey... Do you remember the Gargoyles cartoons in the 80s?
I do.
So that must mean something.
Here's literally what she said.
Okay.
Finally, I said, I've had enough. In my mind, I reached up, I grabbed his face, and I said, you are a liar and Jesus is real. And I pulled that face off, and beneath it was a reptile. And he had little creatures with him this time. He brought these little halfling creatures. And
Halflings?
And they looked like, I don't know, gargoyles. They were very reptilian as well. So beneath that face of Derek was a reptilian serpentine creature, probably similar to what was visiting the Anasazi. I don't know what you're
Derek, you're being a lizard again, Derek. Derek, what did we talk about? We can't do lizard foreplay. It freaks me out. Derek.
Man, it was good times.
Gargoyles. Genuinely, like, was she I need to know, like, is it made up from whole cloth? Was she asleep and had a vivid dream? Genuinely, was she on some, like,
if I cared
report
enough,
weird things on Ambien.
If I cared enough, she appears on the Jim Baker show to talk about whatever it is she's talking about. So I have to imagine that in her own bubble, with her own podcast and show, she's probably told this story before, which means if you go back, like, there's probably plenty of times she's referred to this alien, and now that I say it, I have to go do the deep dive.
Yeah, if anybody had, you'll do it. I was going to volunteer one
if
of our
anyone
listeners.
wants to go look up Miss Gilbert here, Sharon Gilbert.
Lord.
Let's
what
find
a bananas story.
Oh man, good times.
Wow,
I'm glad everyone enjoyed the clip, because it didn't take a lot of work. There wasn't much editing I had to do other than getting rid of the little tangents to that story.
That's
But,
Okay,
man.
so you tweeted the video and
I think it's been viewed like 5.5 million times. It's been insane.
Dang.
I couldn't use Twitter for about 2.5 days, like the mention side of
that
things.
must have been nice.
Kind of, yes. Couldn't see anything because people just responding to the tweet, not to me. Just like sharing the tweet like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
And everyone seemed to have fun mocking what should be mocked.
Yeah, wow.
Let's talk about Baronelle Stutzman. She is the Christian baker who's a florist. Usually we're used to bakers, but she's the florist in the state of Washington.
Oh, yes.
Who in 2013, this woman, her name is Baronelle, she runs a place, owns a place called Arlene's Flowers. Okay. And one of her regular customers,
Not
a guy.
Baronelle's Flowers.
Not Baronelle's Flowers. I don't know who Arlene is. But one of her regular male customers comes in and says, I want to buy flowers. It's for my wedding. To another guy. And at that point, she says, no, I don't do gay flowers or something like that.
Yeah, flowers are inherently heterosexual. Everyone knows that.
So she refused to provide flowers for a same-sex wedding, even though marriage equality was legal in their state and there were anti-discrimination laws. And basically, she was fined $1,000 and told you can't do that. Yeah. Like, you're running a public business. You can't discriminate against customers. Kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, small slap on the wrist, but $1,000 fine, and you can't do that anymore. That seems about right.
Sure.
Fine. So she sued. She sued the state of Washington, and the Washington Supreme Court unanimously ruled against her, saying, no, the law's there. Right. You broke the rules. There's no way out of this for you. Right. I don't care what your religion is. And like she appealed all the way to the Supreme Court. I won't go through the entire case history, but basically the Supreme Court said, we are not getting involved in this because there's nothing basically for us to decide here. And basically the Washington Supreme Court that ruled unanimously against her, they said selling flowers for a same-sex wedding, it's not an endorsement of homosexuality no matter what you say.
It's endorsement of flowers.
Yeah. You would give flowers for an Islamic wedding, an atheist wedding. Like no one would think you are endorsing that, but you do disagree with it. This is no different. That was their argument. And by the way, she admitted that herself. Like, if you ask her, would you sell to a Muslim who's having a wedding? She's like, yeah, of course I would. And they're like, yeah, exactly.
So you hear it, right?
So basically, the thing is, the Supreme Court, however, they didn't take it up, but they tossed out the Washington State Supreme Court's ruling and said, look, we've made some other decisions in the past couple of years that have to do with religious freedom and LGBTQ issues. Why don't you reassess this case in the light of whatever the hell we've just done? So the Washington State Supreme Court looks at it again, and they're like, yeah, no, we were right the first time.
We nailed it the first time. Fucking slam dunk, no notes.
Now we're at 2019. They said it again, unanimously. Yeah. We were right the first time.
Yeah.
There's nothing for us to reconsider.
I feel like I remember that happening.
So once again, her lawyers, the conservative Christian lawyers, asked the Supreme Court again, hey, now look at our case. And in July, the Supreme Court said, no, we're not listening to it. But here's the thing. Justices Thomas, Gorsuch, Alito, they openly said this was the wrong move. We want to take up this case. We think there's a religious freedom issue here to take up, which says a couple things at this point. Again, this is in July of this year. I'm sorry, is this? I need to double check the date on that.
So 2019 is when...
No, it's July of this year.
Of this year.
This court, I mean, we're talking Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett did not say, we want to hear this case. I don't know. Interesting. But...
Well, I wonder if it's because they agree with the outcome and don't want to be on record of being, like, anti-religion in any way.
I think if you're one of the newer justices, the last thing you want to do is step into a not ambiguous situation. It's one thing to, like, I know they're going overboard on a lot of the abortion issues, LGBTQ issues, but it's like, there are some cases that might be on the line and you're like, this, I could weigh in on this. But sometimes when it's not even a good case and this woman does not have a good case, it's like, don't make me rule on this, even though I might want to go your way, because I'll look stupid.
Yes.
You're making me look stupid. That could be a reason they don't want to take this one up. So anyway, you would think they're out of options, but now her legal team, since July... Her legal team said...
How much money does this bitch have? Who's funding her? Who's funding her?
Alliance Defending Freedom, the conservative legal group.
Shocking.
Basically, they said, hey, Supreme Court, you've actually made some other rulings in light of the pandemic on religious freedom. Why don't you look at this case again in light of what you have already said? Okay, so that's where we're at now. This woman does
hearing this story.
I know.
And the Supreme Court, what are you doing, you guys?
So here's where we're at. Her side is saying, Supreme Court, look at it again. We're waiting on the Supreme Court to say whether they're going to hear it. But here's the thing. This week, both sides told the court, Supreme Court, just ignore us. Toss out the case, toss out her appeal to you. We're all going to pretend we don't exist. We've taken care of this ourselves. They decided, they reached a settlement together.
Okay.
Both sides. Here's what they said. Stutzman has to pay the two gay men $5,000.
Great.
She also said she's going to retire from the flower shop.
Sure.
And that's it. Her side's going away. They have decided, yes, we will just end our fighting here for whatever reason. They don't want to deal with this anymore.
So who do you think ultimately made that call? Do you think it's one of the people involved, or do you think it's like Alliance Defending Freedom, who's like, first of all, how do we ping pong back and forth between these courts? I don't understand how law works, I guess.
The cynical side of me says the conservative lawyers on their side were like, we're still not going to win.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like we have a better case than we did a while ago, because clearly we had the case we wanted last time.
Right.
This court said no to us. We're probably going to lose again. So let's just cut our losses, because if the Supreme Court says yes, that's a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of legal writing and time for your lawyers. Like, you don't do that unless you think you have a chance or you feel like you have to defend this. They decided, let's just cut our losses here. So here's the thing. They gave $5,000 to the gay men. The gay men said, we're going to donate that to PFLAG, the parents for, what is it?
PFLAG, parents...
For lesbian and gay people, I think.
And friends of lesbians and gays.
Thank you.
A very 80s, 90s name for a thing.
And they said, we're going to chip in another $5,000 of our own, because they don't want this to be like just
that's nice.
Money. Yeah, so they're donating the money to a ally group.
Genuinely, I was like, oh, I hope they go on a really nice vacation.
I know,
but
right?
I guess that's better.
And here's what the men said, the two guys. We're glad the Washington Supreme Court rulings will stay in place to ensure that same-sex couples are protected from discrimination and should be served by businesses like anyone else. ... It was painful to be turned away, and we are thankful that this long journey for us is finally over. interestingly enough, if you look at her statement that she issued, it was basically like, I hope those guys respect my decision and where I'm coming from, and I love them because I'm Christian, whatever, roll your eyes. These guys are like, we're glad it's over. Like, they didn't say anything about her, which is low-key shade.
Oh, so shady. Also, the Christian habit of saying, I love you, makes me want to vomit everywhere.
You don't act like that.
I know. That's not what, like... This is, honestly, I think this is why there's so much fucking abuse that's rampant in like, just Christianity, is because when you literally have, like, at the pulpit, they're like, God showed his love by flooding the world. Like, that's how he did it, by killing everybody except for 4 people. That's how God shows love.
Their Christian love looks like Christian hate for everyone else.
Yeah, and, like, so if somebody says, I love you and that's why I hate you, then that all tracks.
Right.
And maybe that's not super healthy or good, and maybe love should mean something else besides trying to control something? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just me. Maybe I'm the crazy one.
She was using love as her defense for bigotry. So, meh.
Gross.
She loses. End of story.
Yeah,
but technically
whatever.
it means she settled. Whatever.
Well, she lost, what, $6,000 total?
Well, and ADF loses whatever amount they pay for it themselves.
I
but
hope
like,
they drained the coffers.
yeah, how much time and effort do they waste on this case that they shouldn't have done? Anyway, there was an interesting article this week in the Washington Post, and it came from Denver's Catholic Archbishop, Samuel J. Aquila. Here's what he was basically getting at. He said a lot of the Catholic churches in his diocese, and a lot of churches, period, over the past year or two, have seen vandalism occur to their buildings. And sometimes you will see pro-choice messages graffitied on the walls, pro-LGBTQ, pro-Black Lives Matter, whatever it is. If the church is known to be against those things, people are vandalizing their churches. So this is what Aquila wrote in his piece, after giving a lot of examples of Mormon church, African-American churches dealt with property damage during protests for racial justice. Buddhist temples, Muslim mosques have been targeted. Jewish communities are facing, he said, historical levels of anti-Semitism. There are attacks on synagogues and cemeteries. Hate crimes are hit high. And then he says,
I think I'm confused. So you're saying there's like anti-gay churches are getting like Black Lives Matter,
are getting pro
Okay.
LGBTQ rights messages.
Are those the same messages that are on these synagogues?
No,
or is
they're
it
all
just,
over the place.
So
Vandalism
we're
as
just saying in
a
general,
whole.
Okay, I
yeah,
gotcha.
he's lumping,
from both ends.
lumping together all the vandalism against churches.
Gotcha.
And he
Okay,
says
thank
at the
you.
end, people of goodwill, whether religious or not, must condemn and confront the societal trends that encourage attacks on houses of worship, trends that extend far beyond religion. So part of me is like, yeah, of course.
Sure.
Of course you condemn vandalism against churches. I should point out, like, a decade ago or so, there was a church in Oregon that got vandalized, and they used either satanic or anti-atheist or pro-atheist messages.
I remember that.
And on my website, we raised money to help with the cleanup efforts for that. Because again, I mean, you would think atheists more than others maybe would say, we think we're right and we could argue, we could debate this thing. Then stop vandalizing them. Go do your debate online or wherever. Yeah, roll your eyes. I know.
It's stupid.
But like, don't vandalize their church. They have a right to worship and you have a right to complain and argue against them. Fine. Here's where I was trying to draw a line, because I'm with him on the don't vandalize any of these places. They do have a right to worship, as despicable as some of those places' beliefs may be. I just wanted to point out a couple things. One is, as far as I know, none of the acts he mentioned were done by people attacking religion. As far as I know, these are not atheists committing these crimes or ruining these buildings, defacing them, or anything like that, which I just want to point that out.
Right.
I would hope atheists would be among the first to condemn anything like that, whoever you are.
Yeah.
Here's the part I got an eye roll for. This is from his article. Respectful conversation has given way to spiteful confrontation, and the long-standing attitude of live and let live is being replaced by live as I want you to live. He's saying that about the Vandals.
Okay.
Which, again, for a Catholic archbishop to say, we believe in live and let live.
Yeah.
Like, you're the reason there are these abortion bans and
this
legal
live and let
arguments
live
against
garbage.
LGBTQ people.
You're not, though. You're not
The
living
Catholic
and let
Church
living.
specifically is not doing that. I mean, when has the Catholic Church ever been like, we have these beliefs, but you do whatever you
feel
want?
like entire swaths of Native Americans and First Nations people in Canada would disagree that the Catholic Church has a long-standing stance of live and let live, Hemmant.
Right. And the Catholic Church especially, more than half the people
Jesus,
in their own
this
pews
guy. Jesus
disagree
Christ.
with the church's teachings.
Who is this guy? I'm going to go bully him.
No.
Why?
Archbishop of Denver. But here's the thing that I thought.
My flight is going to go through Denver on my way to Montana.
I'm sure he'll be at the airport.
There.
Yes.
I have a 2-hour layover.
Here's the thing I wanted, like, I'm not defending the Vandals. I don't like the Vandals. I wish they didn't do it. Here's what I was trying to figure out, though. I think for a lot of these people who might be committing these acts, and I haven't seen any articles quoting them directly. I think a lot of times you don't even know who they are.
Right.
They believe that these churches, powerful churches, are making these arguments against abortion rights, against LGBTQ people. Fine. There is no way to get through to them, and there's no alternative way to voice your concerns, disagreements, complaints about their beliefs and how harmful they are. They are. There's no complaint box. There's no formal debate to have. It's not like you can go up to an archbishop and say, well, here's my problem with what you're preaching. Partly because they don't make themselves accessible, partly because it's religious dogma. It's not going to change. So it's like, if you want the vandalism to stop, and I agree, it should stop. There needs to be a way for people to voice their concerns so that they feel you are going to listen.
Yeah.
And all of these religious leaders at all of these places, almost by definition, there's no way for these people to get through. It turns out when you vandalize their property, now all of a sudden they listen because you've given them no other choice. So again, I'm not defending the Vandals, but I think if you want to stop it, it's not getting people like us to condemn it, because we do, and no one's arguing for it. I mean, more or less. If you want them to stop vandalizing your place, give people a way to express their concerns and show them you actually care and are going to do something about it. I think that problem is baked into the system because they're not going to change their views.
Right.
But again, how do you want them to share their grievances with you? And you're giving them no outlet to do it. And if you want to stop the vandalism, you got to give them some like nicer, saner, rational outlet. Otherwise, that is I don't think anything I say or anything anyone else says is going to stop whoever these people are from reacting this way.
Oh, boy. On the one hand, I guess, I don't know, vandalism is like tacky is kind of my main problem with it. Like, it's sort of tacky. But also, I don't know, riots are the voices of the voiceless, right? Like, but I guess I think...
I mean, that's been the argument for the rioting on stuff too, which is you're not listening to us. We can't get your attention unless we, take over like a street or ruin a building. You care about property. You don't care about us. That's kind of the argument on the riot side of things.
Exactly.
Give them a voice. Give them a way to listen and show that you're listening, and that stuff would stop.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time thinking that all I don't know. Maybe this is just like the latent 16-year-old in me or something like that, but I have... Oh, God, no. I'm not saying go out and vandalize. I'm just saying, like, if I see a church that preaches hate get vandalized, I'm not upset about it. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Oh, here was the other thought I had about that. So over the summer,
that much about property.
Greg Locke, the hate preacher from Tennessee, his circus tent got vandalized with like, you're a bigot, whatever. And part of me was like,
a lot of letters for spray paint.
I can't believe this spelled. I can't believe they got the apostrophe right. And part of me was like, did you do this? I kind of think you did this. I don't know.
Oh, he did it
Greg
himself.
Locke.
I thought you were accusing me, Jessica, of doing it, which would have been dope.
Part of me thought he did it because he likes the attention, but
totally.
I can't prove that.
Here's the thing.
I don't know who did it, but what I do remember is after that happened, I'm like, I mean, philosophically, I agree with the message of the Vandals.
Yeah.
Even though I disagree with vandalism. But my point was, you're giving a guy who doesn't deserve it a reason for people the pity, and people are going to sympathize with him. He doesn't deserve that. But that's my argument with these church vandals too. If you think the Catholic Church is anti-gay, anti-abortion, or what have you, and same with the other religious denominations, and you're vandalizing their church saying like, you hate women, whatever, you're giving people a reason to sympathize with the side you hate.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
It's going to backfire.
That's
it's
true.
just a stupid method.
Yeah.
I don't get the strategy behind that.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man.
let me move to a different story here. This is Mark Robinson, the lieutenant governor of North Carolina. We've talked about him.
Oh, sure. Mark Robinson. I know that guy. The lieutenant governor of North Carolina?
Yeah. So this is the guy who says he's almost certainly going to run for governor in 2024.
And we're excited about
we are so not excited.
Did not think so.
He has spent several months, because he's under the radar as a lieutenant governor, spent several months talking to churches because he is a conservative Christian and just saying wildly horrible things.
Fun.
We've talked about some of them. He said if you had forced religion in public schools, it would prevent mass shootings. He said, quote, transgenderism and homosexuality amount to filth. He said the trans movement is demonic and full of antichrist spirit. So he's
what's demonic?
Trans movement.
Oh, just writ large.
The movement, yeah.
Oh, well, that's fun.
Basically, the thing is, as lieutenant governor, he is speaking at these churches, saying these horrible things, and now he's using that to jump into a campaign for governor, which he hasn't officially announced, but he probably will soon. So that's part of it. It's like, oh God, this is a guy he's a black Republican.
What? He's black?
Yes.
Sorry.
Which means he's one of the rare, there's one who just got elected in Virginia too with, what's his face, that just won that race, where they're just like Clarence Thomas, ultra right wing, and Republicans are like, see, we're not racist, but those people hold views that are antithetical to like 95% of African Americans.
The Herman's Cain of the world.
Yes, the Hermans. But basically, this guy is trying to really build up his Christian right base, and he's going to churches, saying all this stuff. So it turns out, like, some of these things that he said over the summer, got very little attention for, until recently when they all started showing up, and then people go back and see what he said during these sermons that he's speaking at, and you uncover a bunch of other things. Well, this month, he spoke at a church. This is after people know he says crazy shit. He spoke at a church called Berean Baptist Church in Winston-Salem. And here's one of the things he was trying to say. He said he didn't want to explain to his grandchildren why two men are kissing if they ever saw that on television.
Sure.
So he said he was once confronted by a gay man. So you think your wife and you think your heterosexual relationship is superior to my husband and my homosexual relationship.
That is how gay people talk.
Yes, absolutely. And here's what Robinson says to the congregation. Yes. My relationship is superior to yours. That's his response.
What? That straw man argument that was definitely fake didn't work?
He says these people...
Oh, my Christ.
He says of straight couples, like, these people are superior because they can do something these people, the gay couples, cannot do, which is having a child.
Oh, counterpoint... I fully cannot have a child despite my best heterosexual enterprises. So, like... Do I? Oh my God, is he going to tell me my marriage is bad? Oh, I'm going to have to tell Mikey. He's going to be disappointed.
He went on to say, like, there's no difference. There's no superiority when it comes to black people or white people. But straight people and gay people, absolutely.
At least he put that part in, because otherwise it would be a bananas thing to say.
And then he went on to make other transphobic comments and then compared gay people to maggots and cow shit. He said being gay is like what the cows leave behind, as well as maggots and flies, they have a purpose.
Maggots are flies.
They have
Does
a purpose
in
God's creation, but whatever. This is a guy who's arguably, he's running for North Carolina governor soon. He was introduced as the, like, quote unquote, the next governor. Yeah, by the pastor, which again, shouldn't be happening at all. But again, it doesn't matter when Republicans do it.
It's, yeah, whatever. Keep going. I have no words.
This is an amusing story that I had too much fun reading.
Oh, no.
I think we talked about this when it happened, but a couple of months ago, a wealthy couple in Florida, their names are Anthony and Barbara Scarpo. They're in Tampa, Florida. They sued the Catholic school that one of their daughters graduated from and one of their daughters was attending. They sued the Academy of the Holy Names is the name of the school. We did talk about this at the time. Familiar. And basically what they said is, this is a couple so wealthy, they pledged to give $1.35 million to the school And the school's like, cool, that's awesome, we'll take it.
How do we get somebody to pledge $1.3 million to me personally?
Go to Patreon.
Great.
Yeah. So they were suing.
Do
They
we
wanted
max at $25 a month?
I don't think they've given all the money, but they said we're suing to basically cancel the pledge and we want the money we've given back. Why? Because they claimed the school had, quote, gone woke and wasn't Catholic enough.
Okay, yes, I remember these. Okay, yes, I do remember this.
And
Yes.
what
I would
their-
expect no less from a Barbara from Florida.
Their complaints were that, this is the case of many of the better Catholic institutions. A lot of them are very much, these are not like private Christian schools that are indoctrinating you. They're Catholic schools in the sense that we want you to get a well-rounded education.
Yep.
Yeah, there's some prayer shit going on as well. But we want you to be well-rounded. We are going to try to give you this Jesuit, broad education. And basically at this school, they were pro Black Lives Matter. They were pro civil rights and allies to LGBTQ people, regardless of what the church teaches
That's
about.
really radical, huh, man?
I mean, I went to grad school at a Catholic school because they had the only one that fit my schedule at the
DePaul or
time.
Loyola?
DePaul.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, they're fine. There was nothing.
Yeah, my brother went to
Catholic about
DePaul.
it.
My friend Anna's going to DePaul. DePaul's a very good school. It's Catholic, though.
Here's specifically what the couple said they didn't like. School officials publicly said their community at the school, quote, they rejected, quote, the racism and hatred reflected in the deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, and Breonna Taylor. They also taught, the couple also said at the entrance to the school that here's how you can be a good ally to the LGBTQ plus individuals. And basically the couple said, that's not what the church teaches. And also you're not what is it that we want to sympathize with when it comes to when it came to the racism stuff, they said this school is teaching students that they should, quote, they should be guilty if you are white and your parents can afford our tuition. If your reaction to... If your reaction...
You got that one right.
If your reaction to we sympathize and we oppose the racism inherent in the deaths of those people, and your reaction is, how dare you sympathize with those people?
Oh my God.
So basically, here's the follow-up to this story. So they sued the school, saying the school's too woke. And they wanted the
So fucking funny. I genuinely can't stand it. It's so good. It's delicious.
The lawsuit wanted a tuition refund for their daughter who was still there. They
That
wanted
certainly can't
They
happen.
wanted the school to stop calling itself Catholic. They wanted the school's accreditation by the Florida Catholic Conference to be stripped away so they wouldn't have accreditation.
Shit.
It was a lot. And
I don't remember all that. Oh my! I thought they just didn't want to give their donation
no,
anymore.
I mean, if they don't want to give their donation, I don't know
Yeah,
what the
I don't give a
contract
shit.
was for the pledge, but
I
whatever.
have other places that money can go in my pocket.
So this week, the judge assigned to this case basically said there were 14 charges that you had made. I'm tossing out 12 of them.
Okay.
Because you are basically asking me, the judge, to decide what counts as Catholicism, and that is not what I do here.
No. I do not think so.
He said, more formally, the judge issued a verbal ruling citing concerns that the First Amendment prevented the court from delving into church teachings. So fine, that makes sense. The judge doesn't get to decide you are following Catholicism or you're not. That's up to you.
To be fair, can you imagine being a judge and having that cross your desk and just being like, you want me to do what to whom?
You want me to say the Catholic Church shouldn't be teaching about racism? That's go to the Pope for that one, not my job. But also for the two other complaints, the judge said you are allowed to resubmit them using different phrasing or something. But it wasn't a symbol that I would rule in favor of you. It's more like these two aren't First Amendment issues, or I have to rule on what the church teaches. It's a technical thing. But basically this judge is like, you have no argument here, and I'm not going to weigh in on this.
Honestly,
you deal with the church,
when
not
you
me.
describe those, it reminds me of when you off mic tell me about talking to the New York Times about crossword puzzles of we'll take this. We don't like this part. Maybe this part should be different. That's what it feels like of we're not going to tell you the right answer, but try again. Maybe this time, maybe look in the top corner for this one.
Yes. I will say, after they filed the lawsuit, so many graduates and alums of the school were like, this lawsuit is so stupid. The school probably made more money by this lawsuit.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because of all the people who are like, the school's good, stop ruining our school.
I bet they recouped their expenses for sure. Could you imagine if you were like a liberal Catholic in fucking Florida and coming across this gem of a school that teaches that racism is bad and, I don't know, probably birth control works? I bet.
They don't teach that.
Oh, Jesus.
They
well, then
are
fuck 'em.
opposed to the birth control stuff.
So brave.
I assume. Let me jump to, there's another lawsuit against Liberty University.
Again?
Another one.
Ooh,
just to be
based on
clear,
what?
we've already had former students sue the school saying
Sexual assault
we were
wasn't
victims
addressed.
of sexual assault. We reported it. You did not care.
Right.
We feared getting punished, so we couldn't even report it to you because you were going to blame us for what happened. That's one lawsuit. There is a former Liberty administrator named Scott Lamb who filed a federal lawsuit saying the school fired him because he took those sexual assault cases seriously.
Oh, yeah.
And refused to participate in any sort of cover-up, and then the school fired him, and he's like, I'm suing you over that.
Perfect, no notes.
Jerry Falwell Jr. has filed a defamation lawsuit against Liberty.
Against Liberty?
As if Liberty made him look bad,
Liberty
and not his...
is why you look bad, my dude, you fucking
Not
moron.
his wife, not his actions, not his unzipped pants on a boat somewhere.
I hate it. I can't, the problem is I can't get that picture out of my head, and it's upsetting, and I hate it.
Glorious.
Oh, no.
And now here's another lawsuit.
What did you call it? Blackwater?
Yeah, he was drinking
it's
black
defo
water.
not wine.
Yeah. So here's the new lawsuit, which was actually filed last month, but I hadn't seen any coverage of it until this week.
Okay.
Her name is Valerie Dufort, and she was an investigator in the school's Office of Equity and Compliance.
Okay.
It was her job to investigate a lot of the assault charges coming to the school. She would look into Title IX complaints and assault allegations, and she says in the lawsuit she was subject to retaliation and harassment because she was doing her job.
Yeah.
And the specifics here are incredible. She said a bisexual male student came to her and said his female girlfriend had physically abused him. Unusual case, but it makes sense. Like, that happens.
It certainly happens.
It happens. So she said she basically did her job. She took that case to the school officials. And she said in the lawsuit, it was ultimately dismissed due to his gender and sexual orientation. They just didn't take it seriously because he was a guy and because he was bi.
Are you telling me that feminism actually is good for both men and women
Yes.
and non-binary people?
There you go.
Are you telling me that women fighting for equality is actually good for everybody? This is crazy. Evan.
And then after she pushed back and said, no, this is an assault allegation regardless, and you need to take it seriously, she said she was no longer given cases to investigate and basically turned into a glorified secretary. Like, for example, they said, listen, you need to improve your work in 5 different areas. 4 of them were things they had never discussed with her before. Like, so she has, at one point...
Everybody knows when they're about to get edged out. Everybody sees it coming.
It gets worse. It gets worse. She said during the pandemic, early on in the pandemic, which, by the way, Liberty did not take seriously, kept their campus open, reopened very early without any mask requirements. She said she wanted to work from home because her husband's immunocompromised. The school said no to her, even though they had said yes to other people with similar requests. She was instead forced to take an unpaid leave. And when she returned to work, she was chastised for not improving in those 4 or 5 areas, and then she was fired.
I bet a lot of our listeners recognize that chain of events because business. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So anyway, like, this is not a Jerry Falwell issue. This is a Liberty is broken issue, and it's another lawsuit against the school for basically running, like, the entire administration is a shit show.
Yeah.
That's the lesson I'm taking away. That's not a guilty verdict. That's just saying if so many of these people are all, forget Jerry Falwell, if all the other people are filing lawsuits against Liberty, all basically saying, say, different versions of the same story, I feel like there's a problem at Liberty. And no one at the school in the positions of power seem to be doing anything substantial to address these issues.
Yeah, no, I mean, I am really excited for people to continue to go there and get terrible educations and face sexual assault.
I know.
No
Remember back in the
repercussions?
day when you could just make fun of Liberty because the students graduating were getting a diploma that was worth as much as toilet paper?
Now
and
it's...
I can't even make fun of the creationism there anymore. It's like that's
got
low on the
bad.
totem pole of everything they do wrong there.
What's their think tank? The Falkirk?
It was the Falkirk Center. Now
Oh,
it has
it's
some
something
weird
else
generic
now.
name because it was so bad they fired Falwell and Kirk.
I do feel like ultimate
Fired,
goal.
resigned, didn't renew a
encouraged
contract.
to resign.
Yeah.
I really feel like the ultimate endpoint of this podcast is a think tank. I really think that's where our skills, and I'm using skills loosely,
We're
can be
just gonna
best
produce
utilized.
white papers everywhere.
Listen, I've written a lot of white papers in my life, and I'm very good at them.
Here's a disturbing story from where else? Florida.
Yep.
31-year-old guy, Robert Cota, C-O-T-A. Apparently, he recently attended a event for new members at some local church.
Okay.
And while he's there, like, I guess the pastor says to all these hopefully new members of the church, well, here's like the guidebook. This is our church's statement of beliefs. This is where we stand on various issues. Like, that's fine. That's typical. And this is their rules about marriage and gender and sexual contact and sexual orientation. And like, I'm not even going to get into where I disagree. It doesn't matter. The church has their beliefs. And the pastor is saying, here's where we stand on everything. And apparently this dude, Coda, goes to the pastor and he's like, I have a question about something on this in this guidebook. It says incest is forbidden. I have questions about this. And the pastor's like,
What are your questions, sir?
So clearly, red flags raised. Because I guess, I don't have these details. I guess the guy kept talking as if this wasn't a problem.
Sure.
And so what does the pastor do? The pastor says to the guy, that ain't right. Whatever it is you're doing, no, you
If
need
you
to
have questions
stop
about
it.
whether it's incest, you probably should just pass it up.
So not only did he tell the guy, you need to stop whatever you're doing, to his credit, the unnamed pastor, I don't know who it was, I don't know what church it was, he went to the sheriff's office, local sheriff's officer, and he gave them a sheet that Coda had filled out with his address and phone number for the church. He's like, this is what the guy filled out for me.
Wait, and he just said, I want to hear more about it. Did he tell the pastor, or do we not know?
I couldn't get that information about what exactly he said to the pastor, but pastor
enough happened
heard
that
enough
okay.
that he's like, I need to tell people about this.
Yeah.
So he gives the contact information to the sheriff's office. And basically, long story short, the sheriff's office goes to his house and they find a woman. I don't know if this is a long-term girlfriend, a wife, whatever, but they find a woman and they find a little girl. And it didn't take long before they connected the dots to the little girl. And here's the end result of this. The girl, we don't know how old she is. I think she's probably under 12.
Oh.
Yeah. She said this guy has been sexually assaulting her for 3 years. She said it started when she was 7.
No.
She said that it had happened more than 600 times, like just a regular thing in their lives. If you're looking for any silver lining here, I know there really isn't one, but this guy is now in jail. He's been charged with 600 counts of sexual assault and 600 counts of incest, 1,200 altogether. He's being held in prison. His bond is at $3 million. I will say good on the pastor for doing what we've been asking for people like him in his position to do forever, which is don't pray this away. Don't tell him it's a sin. Go talk to someone who can do something about it. And he did. So good on the pastor.
Yeah, that's...
One thing that stuck out to me as this is going on, like, good, it seems to be handled appropriately. Jesus Christ, my heart goes out to this unnamed girl.
That's terrible.
Yeah. I have so many questions about why did this guy want to join a church? Does he think he's religious now? Like, did he not see this as a problem until now? Weird. Like, where he had enough moral, like, black and whiteism to be a part of this clearly conservative church, but no ambiguity about what he was doing?
A lot of times perpetrators of, like, long-term crimes oftentimes will sort of subconsciously get themselves caught because they're ready to be done. You see a lot with like serial killers of like they were ready to be caught, they couldn't keep it up.
I did see a Lifetime movie about this week. It was just like that. I kind of wonder, did this guy
Van Rule taught me anything?
Did this guy start reading Genesis where they do have cases of incest in the book and he's like yep, there's nothing else in the Bible for me to read. I'm good. I'll stop at page 7. But here's a real thing to consider. What if this guy was not a Protestant of whatever denomination he decided to join? What if he was Catholic and he went to a confessional booth and told a priest, here's what I've been doing? Because for years now, Catholic priests have been arguing and saying we shouldn't have to report that to law enforcement. That is in the sanctity of the confessional booth, and we can give them the religious repentance path, but we should not be obligated to tell law enforcement about anything we hear, even if it means protecting kids. They've been fighting to do that. We should be grateful this guy went to a pastor.
If that man was Catholic, a little girl would still be getting molested by her parent or authority figure, literally as we speak. So good, genuinely good on that pastor, and fuck the Catholic Church.
Yeah. Here is another horrible state senator from Montana. This is State Senator Teresa Manzella. She was speaking at a God Country Family tour, so a bunch of conservative Christians. And while she was there, she was speaking, I guess there was a pastor in the community who recently said he's not going to work with the Missoula Food Bank because they included pride inserts in sack lunches that they gave to homeless people. And so the pastor, was like, well, then if you're going to support LGBTQ people, I am not going to work with you. And because that pastor has a day job at a real estate company, the real estate company basically filed an ethics complaint against this guy for being a bigot.
I just want to point out that this woman presides over a district that I used to live in.
Hey, there you go. This guy, the pastor, I think there was a line that I'm kind of curious about if you have personal bigoted beliefs, but they don't go into your day job, I do have a question about how much that should affect your day job. But that said, he has to attend an ethics hearing next month if he wants to keep his real estate license and not pay a $5,000 fine.
Okay.
This is a controversy within their Christian circles for obvious reasons. So this woman, Manzella, the state senator, was speaking at this conference about him, about the pastor, about the bigot, and wanting to defend him. So she wanted the crowd to know she is on the pastor's side, and she said, she said, we're not here to whine or complain about this silly ethics complaint and the thoughts about persecution, because that is nothing as compared to what Christ went through for us. We are here to celebrate Brandon Huber, the real estate guy, and his stand for God and godliness. And then she said that members of the LGBTQ community like to play the protected class card because queer couples in general have expressed that they're... Wait, here's the part you need to hear. She said queer couples in general have expressed that they're scared to walk down the street holding hands in fear of possible violence against them for their sexuality, which is true. I mean, they're scared to walk down, especially in conservative areas. So what does she say about that? I've got to tell you, I think those are normal consequences associated with the choices they made. Two things about that.
Yeah.
So because they are gay couples who just want to walk down the streets in peace, she said, and because they live in fear of that, she says that's a normal consequence of a choice they made as if they decided to do that. So I guess if you choose to be gay, well, too bad. You got to fear for your lives. That's just a consequence of whatever you want to do. And not calling out the people who make them live in fear. The state's Democratic Party, all three of them, I guess, they're calling for sanctions
There's
against...
Democratic governor of Montana right now, I think. Whatever, they legalize pot.
I know they have Tester and everything in Senate, but the state's Democratic Party is calling for sanctions against her, wanting to remove her from committee assignments, basically the only thing they can do within their power, but it's maybe not going to happen. They said, this is from the House Minority Leader, Senator Manzella's remarks are nothing short of offensive, dangerous, and unacceptable. They also said LGBTQ Montanans have always been valued members of our communities, and they deserve the basic dignity and respect owed to everyone in our state, the most basic of which is to be able to live their lives without fear of violence. And here's the thing. Manzella reacted to this like she was Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert, where she's like, you're attacking me for my bigotry? Well, this is your fault. She basically said they took her quotation, quote, a bit out of context.
Oh, did they?
And then she posted the entire speech she gave on Facebook so everyone could see it for themselves. Guess what?
It's terrible. And I hate it.
Totally in context. There was nothing taken out of place. It sounded even worse when you put it in context, because she also added that the LGBTQ movement is recruiting our kids.
Oh, are they? What are their recruitment techniques?
I don't know, but this is in a separate Facebook post. She also questioned whether her religious freedom was under attack. That's her reaction to saying gay people should live in fear, basically.
Sure. I just want to clarify a previous mistake. I'm so sorry. She is not a representative of the place where I used to live. She represents Stevensville. We called it Steve I. And the surrounding, mountains or whatever. I don't know. I just wanted to make that clear. So she doesn't represent Missoula, which I think is pretty important to point out because Missoula is like...
I could have sworn it said Missoula.
I mean, the district. I'm on Ballotopedia. District 40, Senate District 44 is where she is. I think she's just south of Missoula, so it tracks that Missoula is part of her concern, and because it's the only liberal place in Western Montana. But she doesn't even go up to Lolo or down to Hamilton, which is where I used to grocery shop. Hamilton was because we didn't have a grocery store in my town.
One last story for you, which I found fascinating. There was a survey out from the Pew Research Center, and they asked people, why do bad things happen in the world? And I would have guessed most people would have just said God caused
Shit
them.
happens. Oh, no.
I would have thought they said God. No, they actually said what you said. Shit just happens. Of the responses that they asked, they said, what's the percent of U.S. adults who say blank explains why suffering exists, either very well or somewhat well? 86% of people said sometimes bad things just happen. A whole bunch of them, 71%, said suffering is just a consequence of our own actions.
That's fair.
69% said it happens just because of the way society is structured. Society is just a problem to begin with. We need to fix underlying issues. Overwhelmingly, they did not say God causes the problems as if it's part of some master plan. Now, many of those people said God helps you respond to the problems or that God can fix the problems. But very much most of the people basically said God gave us free will to do what we want to do. And if shit happens, it's our fault or society's fault or something like that. That actually surprised me. I genuinely thought most Americans, being religious believers, would have said, this is all part of God's plan.
Sure.
Even the bad stuff that happens, God caused it because it's supposed to maybe teach us a bigger lesson. I don't know. I don't know if that's... that was my first reaction, but I don't know if it's typical.
Can I tell you a quick anecdote? When I was young, when I was probably 10 or so, there was a family who lived in my community that there was a car accident, and it was a family of 5, and the father, the youngest son, died. The daughter was in a coma. The older brother, who was my age, who I was friends with in high school, he was not in the car at the time, and a woman hit them. And it was horrible. And I think this is probably 96 or so, and so I couldn't have been more than 10 or 11. And I remember my mom coming home and telling me a story of talking to this woman who had just lost her son and her husband, and her daughter was in a coma. And this woman who I know is a mother of a school friend of mine said to her, well, that's just what happens. You must have done something wrong because God punished you. And I remember my mom told me that when I was fucking 10 years old. And I haven't thought about it in fucking 20 years. But people not only think that, but think it's an appropriate thing to say to some people. Yikes. Anyway, sorry, that was just all I thought of when we talk about why do bad things happen. It's not just why do I feel how bad things happen. It's I'm in grief. Who can be the biggest dick to me right now?
I guess if there's anything to take away from that survey result, it's that if most Americans agree God doesn't create our problems, and that we did or society's structure needs to be fixed, their structural problems, then maybe they will agree we're capable of fixing some of our problems, and maybe they could elect politicians who will work toward reasonable solutions, because if God doesn't control our fate, that means we do.
Yeah.
I feel like so many people just kind of throw their hands up, and it's like, it doesn't matter who I elect or who I vote for or what I do, because it's all in God's hands. But again, vast majority of Americans don't buy it.
It's such a fucking cop-out. It's such a cop-out to be like, oh, whatever happens is going to happen no matter what. And that just,
God didn't cause it. People who believe in God caused a lot of these problems.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
fix it. Help us fix it.
Yeah.
That's all I got. There's other stuff, but I don't care about it enough.
I have a couple things I want to
Yes.
talk about. Speaking of Montana, I am going to be in Montana in February. I am going on the first real nice vacation my husband and I have genuinely ever gone on. So we're going down to actually the ranch I used to work at back in the day. We're going down there for a few days, but we're gonna spend a night or two in Missoula. And so we're planning on having a meetup. Isaac is somebody who I am, I don't know, Twitter friends with. What does that mean? Who's a dude who lives in that area. And he seems very confident there are listeners in Missoula. I feel like maybe it's just him and his wife. I don't know. Anyway, so it's gonna be the first week of February. I don't have dates because I haven't booked flights. But just I guess if you live in that area and that's something and you live there in February for some reason, I should be out there. Next is my Etsy shop. So I am officially cutting off sales to guarantee for Christmas on December 1st. So that gives you until Tuesday the 30th. It's not I'm not a corporation. If you text me, I'll see what I can do. So Bitches Get Stitched On is my Etsy shop. I just need to be clear that I make all of these things by hand and they take hours and hours and hours and hours. And that's why I have to cut them off early because they do take a lot of time. I've gotten many, many orders and they're all fun and cool to work on, mostly from listeners. So I appreciate people who have already bought things from me. And if you are looking for something for Christmas, supply chain shit is bad, I guess. I don't know, etc. So yeah, let me know, reach out. There's everybody orders custom shit from my shop. You can buy something, but if you want something custom, there's a thing that just messages me. So there's that. Last thing I want to talk about, which is a sad note, is I've had a rough day today. I had a rough few days. I don't know if you remember, but I miscarried the day before Thanksgiving last year. Turns out that really sucks the fun out of the holiday the next year. I don't know if it's going to be my favorite holiday movie not. But so I was kind of glum today. And then I found out Stephen Sondheim died just a couple hours before I haven't came over here. I know it's not interesting or original, but God, I fucking love Stephen Sondheim. Into the Woods, I have the Into the Woods original Broadway cast with Joanna Gleason is the only name I know from that Chip something who did the voice of Howard the Duck is the thing I know. My friend Amanda had the VHS. It's a double VHS because that musical is 14 hours long. And Bernadette Peters, of course. Bernadette Peters is the witch. It's just one of my favorite things in existence. I love the music and the direction of that show. I like the light and dark of it. It's on YouTube. I have watched it many times at night when I'm feeling sorry for myself. These are the things I watch. He did the lyrics of West Side Story.
I think someone put it well. I'm sure many people said the same thing, but he's one of the few people who his lyrics and the things he has written for the theater gave us things to say about him in his passing.
Sometimes people leave you halfway through the woods. Yeah, it's... Oh boy, this is... I mean, listen, he was, I think, 91.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's not unexpected. It was inevitable. I think just about a year ago, maybe more than that, they did a tribute to Sondheim, I think for his 90th birthday.
There's
which
some
I may
awesome
go back
stuff on YouTube if you're into musicals.
I just, you guys, if you like Stephen Sondheim at all, go back and watch that 90th birthday. Chip Zine, I think his name is. And he still has, have you ever seen that version, the Bernadette Peters version of Into the Woods?
Think I have.
It's incredible. My husband played Jack in high school and still talks about it. He's 42 years old. Those songs are incredible. And I will say about Stephen Sondheim is he wrote amazing roles for women when that wasn't necessarily the most popular thing to do. If you look just at Into the I'm a Stephen Sondheim fan. I love Into the Woods. You look at Into the Woods, there's complex, interesting characters and sort of low-key white people rap sometimes, which is pretty fun. I don't know. I'm sincerely bummed about this. It's a sad night. It's not surprising. His life wasn't cut off short. He lived a full, wonderful life. But I don't know. It's kind of a bummer. I wish he had been able to see the new West Side Story. I feel like that's shaping up to be really fucking good.
I don't know if he saw a rough cut of it already, or he said that in interviews.
Yeah. Like, I'm just skimming through, putting it together.
I think I read somewhere he saw
Sweeney Todd.
He recently went to go see 2 different revivals in 2 consecutive nights, and he's like, "Yep, they're both awesome," something like that. Of course.
I just accompany a little night music. It's sad he contributed a fucking lot and is such an interesting songwriter. Like, listen to the fucking opening number of Sweeney Todd, and the shit they do with minor notes will blow your mind. Leonard Bernstein wrote the music to West Side Story, so I shouldn't talk about it. Anyway, I just want to say, as a grown-up musical theater dork, it's sad. It's sad. I'm sad, and I'm probably gonna. I actually might watch Sunday in the Park with George tonight, because that's not one I know very well. I like to, if I'm feeling sorry for myself, which is often, I will find bootlegs on YouTube of Broadway shows.
Oh yeah,
that's how I've seen. Fucking what's it called? Spring Awakening.
Oh, okay.
I've seen it like 5 times just
I saw
on
a bootleg
YouTube.
of Dear Evan Hansen recently.
Is that
It was good.
You know what? This is all bonus episode shit.
There
okay.
you go.
Hey, thanks again for our cross country coach. That is was a bananas and great, surprising and generous gift. Thank you.
Where do we find you?
You can always find me on Twitter at Jess Blumke, obviously on Etsy, but just get Stitch done. And hey, join our Facebook group if you haven't yet. I know Facebook is sort of a nightmare, but I have here's the key: block all the bad things, including all the news stations, because those have comments. So that is all I have.
All right.
Hammett,
I'm at friendlyatheist.com. Go to patreon.com/friendlyatheistpodcast.
You can always email us, friendlyatheistpodcast@gmail.com.
Yep.
And
That's it.
That's
we'll
it.
See you next week.
Good night.
Bye.
Sometimes people leave you.